and welcome to another installment of Inside the Process. Something went down the wrong pipe or something. But I'm here, and you're here, and that is much appreciated. For Inside the Process, we draw back the curtain into my experiences and my world, and sometimes my head. Be afraid, and I hope you get something out of it, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for those of you who watch regularly and who support and encourage me via the link that you will see to the support page of my website. And note that in a couple of weeks, in 2022, we're going to move over to my main Joel Holt's Notes YouTube channel for this. But thanks for finding me here tonight. So the topic this evening, I've titled this, is Do I Have to? And that is the attitude of many musicians, dare I say most, but safe to say many, probably safe to say most musicians concerning Christmas music. If you have a gig that is a holiday gig and they want you to play as much Christmas music as possible, many musicians will turn that around and figure out how to play as little Christmas music as possible. Now, you know my circumstance, or if you haven't, I'll remind you that back in the 80s and 90s, I had a gig, and I had it for 11 years. Some of that time, all year and full time. Toward the tail end, it was seasonal, but in that gig, which was as a shopping mall food court pianist in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, starting in mid-November, back when the gig started, it was the day after Thanksgiving when Santa Claus would come. But then Santa Claus started coming earlier, and those little traditional boundaries kind of fell apart. And Santa Claus was in the mall mid-November, and I was required to play wall-to-wall Christmas music. Now, when I had a sub come in, I can't remember a time when I had a sub come in, which wasn't often, but occasionally I needed to, where I didn't get the "do I have to" question at Christmas time. And you can't make somebody do something. It's kind of like, okay, just don't get caught. Play some Christmas tunes and play some other tunes. And I never got any flack for that. But when I was there, wall to wall, and I don't know if that requirement that I was willing to accommodate, and I don't remember being stressed out by it, shaped my attitude, or if my attitude was already there before. And it's kind of like a tune's a tune, So that chicken and the egg question with me, I don't know which came first. But at some point there was a chicken. And that chicken is fine playing Christmas tunes all the time. And, it's just, again, just living in that moment wherever it is and not being judgmental toward it. And that's kind of a big thing. And I don't mean that in a negative way, really, because we all have our boundaries, we all have our sensibilities, and then they become our agendas, and then those agendas can become problematic. But, a tune's a tune, and, I can have fun with a Christmas tune. tune's a tune, but that's just me. And you could say that's my agenda. And then I'm painted into a corner slightly. But, you know, any big topic like this, you know, really just thinking things through conceptually, you just gotta let go of it all. At least for me. Of course, you have to trust that it's not just all going to fly away and leave you in dark blackness and void, right? And I do. So, people will ask me, Joe, what's your favorite tune? What's your favorite song to play? And the answer I give is not to be, you know, smart, Alec. It's the genuine answer. Or ideally it is. And that answer is whatever I'm playing. That's my favorite song. Because I want to be in the moment with whatever I'm playing. There are impediments to the moment. But the thing that really will shoot me in the foot, self-inflicted, you know, is if I cop an attitude toward what I'm playing. If I play something as if it's not my favorite thing. The trick is to appropriate, accept, embrace something as my favorite thing, even if it's not feeling like I want it to at the time. Which is kind of the case there. And that's also a shoot myself in the foot deal. So, this past Monday night, what's today? So, wait a minute. Was that last week already? Man, time's fun when you're having flies. Whoa. But anyway, last week on Monday night, we had our final Mainstay Monday show with Sharon Sable and Sean Kisani. And there were some complexities for me in navigating, and also it was just a lot going on, kind of emotional, and the last 5-year run and all of that. And I was getting in my way a little bit, accepting. And I threw a little stink bomb in, when Sean was like, yeah, in the first break, he was like, yeah. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm circling the cup here. Of course, when I'm saying I'm circling the cup, that's better than saying I'm stuck in the sand trap, but still, So it doesn't always get there, and it doesn't always feel like it, and that's my problem. And negativity toward anything, a person, a song, yourself, that's your problem. Or in my case, my problem. So when somebody said, man, that's a lame tune, like country music, which to me is largely kind of stereotyped because I haven't really lived there. But coming up in the 70s, when I was a teenager, if you want to make fun of a country music, you take a 3-chord tune, and the tune was always "You're cheating." That wasn't on my list of tunes to play, actually. It just kind of happened. But that tune was like the example that you would use, back then as a lame tune if you're like a jazz head, whatever I am or was or aren't. I don't know. But actually, partway through just fiddling with that melody, that tune turned on for me better than my favorite things did. And I just, sounded kind of opened up because I wasn't judging it. And actually, when I was playing my favorite things, I was judging myself. But, it is the pursuit of the artist or the spiritual person or somebody who's looking to make that connection. It is a continual pursuit to get beyond yourself, and we can talk about that for a long time and not talk about music at all. That just really gets to the heart of much of everything. So, is your cheating heart lame? I wasn't lame. It was fun. And what I'll come back to is, and I say this all the time, and nobody's contradicted me yet, one of the songs that jazz musicians play all the time has a melody that has 2 notes in it. Now, I realize there's a tune, 1-note samba, but actually when you get to the bridge, it goes all over the place. It's just, that's more of a lyrical thing, although... So, not really just 1 note. It's also got a cool chord progression, so it's not a lame tune, doesn't pretend to be, and nobody thinks it is. But the idea of like a more simple tune, 2 notes in the melody of the whole tune, and jazz guys play it all the time, and nobody complains about it. So I tell people, shut up. course, I played a lot more than just 2 notes, but the tune itself, Duke's Place or C Jam Blues. When there's lyrics to it, singers will sing Duke's Place. I don't think there are any serious lyrics. C Jam Blues? No, it doesn't work. A tune's a tune. You know, now, does that mean I'm saying there aren't beautiful, wonderful tunes? Of course not. You know, it's like a lovely piano. You know, a 9-foot, you know, Steinway grand. You know, top of the line or Bosendorfer or whatever. You know, pianists pretty much play themselves. You know, you play one note and you're just and it's so beautiful. And then you get, you know, a dumb little spin it, and you have to really work it. But, you know, if you're willing to work it, you can get that piano to sound good too. So, I mean, some things you have to work at. Now, for me, working it's something, though, maybe a little different than for some musicians. The one thing that I don't have, and this is just related to my temperament, and I understand this, is the ability to like turn things on and off. Because it's not a mental game with me. It's a feeling game. It comes from here, and you can't always tell here what to do. Here will go where it wants to go. Here you can, you know, program it. You know, and there are great musicians who can like turn styles on and off. I mean, I can do it to a point, but it's just like, you know, they can set those guardrails for themselves and they play exactly a certain way. And one example, okay, and this is now combining the idea of flipping switches and agendas. A prominent regional jazz pianist, I won't name him, I happened to be on a gig with him many, many years ago. And he was accompanying, he had to get up at his piano. I think we were like both getting up and playing different circumstances. He had to get up behind this singer. I think it was a gospel singer. And the way to play that particular tune was to play in triads. Triads are your simple basic chords. And this pianist was heavily agendized against triads. Triads are lame, you know. You have to, you know, those chords are hip. Triads are just, you know, you might as well just play. In his mind. And what he said to me, and since I'm not divulging his name and you have no way of knowing, I'm not disobeying his command, which was, don't you tell anybody that I play triads. And I'm just, okay. Well, guess what? I don't care how lame, if you want to say it, or simple triads are, I can't make myself do that. Because inevitably, those other sounds are going to come in. And a real good example of that was this tune I had to accompany years ago and was doing some shows with Beth McDonald, and she was playing this tune, Say Something. Now, wait a minute now. Yeah, there. Quarter note comping pattern, and it was specifically triads. And Beth is very, I mean, she's incredibly musical, has, you know, knows exactly what she wants to hear, and I can't sneak anything in on her, and I don't try to. But in that case, try as I might. It's a B minor triad. Okay, for musicians, B minor triad in second inversion, with a B in the bass, a G triad in root position, a D triad in first inversion, and then an A suspended. There would be an A major, and there's a suspended in second inversion. Just four. Count the four, Joe. Four triads, right? You have B minor, G, D, A sus, B minor, G, D, A sus. Until you get to the bridge. Most of the tune is that, and I could not do it. I haven't tried that for a long time, and I seem to not have a trouble right then. But the first time that I actually played it where I didn't like change one of the chords because I couldn't help myself because I'm feeling it, not thinking about it, was in the show at the Garfield Center. It's like the first time I got all the way through and only played triads. So my other friend was, saying, "Don't you tell anybody I play triads." I'm like, well, you don't have to tell anybody that I play triads because I can't figure it out. Which is really weird because triads are the simplest, most basic chords. So, agendas and complications of temperament and all sorts of things. So, at this point where we're now like moving away from my center of gravity, and this is a change. It was like when I was much younger that I was judgmental, and we all we're all sort of tribal about our thing. It's just like I'm just not gonna pay attention to this because it's not my thing and it's your thing and your thing sucks and my thing's good. But of course that's not true, but it's like I would feel, and to some extent still do, comfortable playing, an old standard that maybe nobody even knows, so nobody would care about, but I'm just all completely in it. And then I'm uncomfortable playing a more contemporary tune that everybody would know and enjoy, but it's just, it's out of it's way out of my comfort zone, And again, that's my problem. That's me getting in the way. So I have to sometimes spend a lot of time and work hard at relating to something that is a post-Great American Songbook era tune. And one that I played around with for decades before I felt comfortable. It's a simple tune. Before I was comfortable with it, and it's just, and I don't know where that switch is because I can't flip it. It's just when I can feel something finally. letting go and letting things happen, and dropping agendas and kind of being fearless. You know, it's funny. A friend of mine, and I put this quote in my testimonial section. Colleagues say, what do you say? There is no one more generous, more selfless, more fearless than Joe Holt. I could question all of that, but fearless? Now I'm reminded, since I've been watching it lately, with the Charlie Brown Christmas. Yeah, if you know that scene where Lucy's at her psychiatric desk and trying to label Charlie Brown's fear, you know, Chephorophobia, the fear of crossing bridges, blah, 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 no. And this is, do you think you have pentaphobia? What's pentaphobia? The fear of everything. Yes, that's it. Yeah. Fearless. But, you know, well, I want to get theological. Perfect love casts out fear. But let's just play another post-American songbook. Great. Wait a minute. That Yoda Speak B I just did. Although you could call a tune like this Great American Songbook. I mean, not really. Like the new Great American Songbook, Piano Man. But this is from the 50s, so it almost is. I don't know why I want to play it. Because I never play it, that's why. Again, tunes like that are where I'm challenged to make things happen sometimes. But I can get in my way at a drop of anything. So The embrace of whatever is in front of you is an embrace of, for me anyway, taking an opportunity to have something be a vessel that carries something, and carrying whatever it is in whatever vessel that is. If there is an agenda, it's to elevate the circumstance, to deliver substance. Slightly related, but not really, but a little bit, to my line that I would say to the kids in the jazz combo all the time. Shtick is fine as long as it's delivering substance, because these tunes are delivery systems. And a real learning experience for me in this regard was when I came out of retirement in church music ministry for a few years in the early 2000s, and was the worship arts director at the Church of the Nazarene in Chestertown. And the idea there that I took into it, the agenda or the mindset or the belief, actually, that I had was that the substantively I could do something, or to the extent I could do something substantively, was the extent to which it had the potential to move and reach people. Now, it was also combined with teaching the musicians with me to be appropriately stylistically diverse, so that people would be able to have something in the service they could relate to, but in doing so, the other things that they might not relate to as much, they were given the opportunity, and I think we demonstrated that this was successful, to latch on to that same substance in something else. And it became about what was being given and not just the shell of the vessel, if that makes sense. This can be generalized beyond church situations, but that's a big part of my background. This is the context in which I'm talking about it, but it's not just about church, right? If a church wants to have what they call blended service, where they do traditional and contemporary elements, and this is less and less a thing, actually, because as we're getting further and further down the road of contemporary music, churches are just all in and they ignore history, and no. But the idea of giving something traditional and giving something contemporary and doing something else, we're talking now representing different cultures. And if you're representing different cultures, it's more than just playing different music. It's a bit akin to if you're a classical pianist and you're playing poorly, romantic music or impressionistic music. Very different than playing Baroque music, right? Very different than playing Bach. And you kind of ruin it or mess it up if you don't make distinctions. And you have to learn them. And for music that has existed in cultures that people have lived in, you really have to get in that culture. Jerry Lee Lewis is one thing on the piano. Fats Waller is another thing on the piano. Cecil Taylor is another thing on the piano. James P. Johnson's another thing on the piano. Art Tatum's another thing. Roger Williams is another thing. Floyd Kramer is another thing. And they all come out of different cultural places. that you really have to learn and you have to respect. Yes, I cited a country music pianist, and I put the word respect in there, and that was on purpose. And I didn't do that really justice, because I really needed to devote a whole hour, and then about 5 of those whole hours to this topic. But I don't want to take this down a theological road. So let me just play a couple things. One beautiful little, it was contemporary in the 70s. It isn't anymore. And I'm not going to play it in that key. What am I going to play it on? Maybe it was 60s. Maybe it was 80s. I don't know. But I like this song. As the deer longs for streams of water. Yeah, it's a nice 70s-ish contemporary tune. And hopefully, obviously, I enjoyed playing it. So you may have heard this story before, but it's a fun story. When I was on staff at the church, we trained the musicians, or as much as I could, to be stylistically diverse. And so we would play like tunes that were charting in the contemporary land back then, which was almost 20 years ago, so it's different than now. I would struggle more now, because pop music has really Well, see, I was going to be judgmental and say pop music has really gone down the toilet. But, yeah. Anyhow, but we could also play older stuff, and so there was this, well, I know one person who's listening to this who's heard this before because we had a discussion about it, the email exchange. But the Alabaster offering every year, and the old tradition was to play Onward Christian Soldiers, and I'm like, no, come on, guys, in the little worship band, we're gonna do something different, and we played this tune, and kind of elevates the scene. Yeah. Actually, it's a tune, and I hope I play the tune substantively. Whatever. Right. Oh, there's little fun memories of that time. But I guess the whole thread here is just attitude. And the do I have to, or ugh, or that's lame, or boy, it's a drag. It's a drag on yourself. It's a drag on others, and it also can cut you off from contributions that you might otherwise be able to make, or experiences or discoveries that you might otherwise make. Now, I realize that for people on the other side of the fence, that's turned around and it's like, no, you're going to have the most elevated experiences and have the best artistic contribution if you are in the best and most substantive place. And all I'm saying is just wherever you are, just go in and lift it up a notch if you can. And leave it better than you found it. That's it. Say it like that. Leave it just a little nicer than you found it. And then, wouldn't the world be a nice place, right? So, one line that I'll use, and I could certainly use this in church music because it's a theological concept, redemption. Everything is redeemable. Everything is redeemable. And you gotta believe nothing is beyond redemption. Maybe there's a lot of work involved, or attitudinal shifts or whatever. Everything is redeemable once agendas are out of the way. But having said that, and now we're going to go back to Christmas. Some tunes and some things, but now we're talking about tunes, are just great, and just, they're just great. And one of the great, more contemporary cultural Christmas tunes, not carols, is of course this one. What a pretty tune. Called the Christmas song, but people like to identify it with this first line. Chestnuts roasting. Or they just say, chestnuts! Walnuts, pecans, cashews. No, the Christmas song. So it occurred to me when I was most of the way done here that I could have taken the topic in a different direction. If you're watching this the night it premieres, and you follow my Facebook page, you'll see that I had a fun recording session down in Rehoboth for a couple of sets of Christmas music that's going to air on Christmas Day on my friend Bob Yesbeck's radio program. And he has a version of that program, or a series within the program he calls Backstage Pass. And they go into the Mid-South Audio Recording Studios and actually bring an audience in because it's big enough. And they do a concert and they record the concert. But we did this as an actual recording session because he wanted to get 2 full sets of music. He wanted to get an hour and 45 minutes of playable music in like a 4-hour session, which is ridiculous. But we but we did it, and I'm all about ridiculous. And that airs. It's local. If you see the post in the article that I shared, that radio frequency is specific to Southern Delaware, but it does stream on their website. He didn't list the website, and I got to remember to put that out there. WGMD, WG Go M My D Direction. Yeah, WGoMyDirection.com. That's not what it means. And it's going to be on Christmas Day between 2 and 4 o'clock. And I could have talked about that because that was cool, and that had this. I mean, every experience is cool, and every experience is a new thing. And I met a wonderful country guitar player that I am bringing to the mainstay next year. Just met him once, Billy West, but we're gonna have we had fun. We're playing off each other all night. It was great. And one of the things in that session, one of the tunes, we had different musicians. Paul Mediri came and played vibes, and he has, there's different kinds of musicians. One who just goes and doesn't think and doesn't plan and doesn't, and just is there. And Paul, who's like the big schemer, and works out the arrangements and, has this very intricate idea in his head, and which can be dangerous when he starts quoting. His quote memes or themes are ridiculous and challenging when we're in a quote battle, but that's not the point. So he had a little version of We Wish You a Merry Christmas as a samba, which I actually wasn't intending to do as a samba, but I just said it. Let me see here. So why don't I go out with this tune? Because actually I'm not going to see you. Well, tomorrow night if you watch Piano for My Friends. But other than that, until after Christmas. So. Let's try another key, see if I can do better. Whatever that was. So, again, thank you for watching. Thank you for being supportive. I appreciate you so much. Merry Christmas. Ho, 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 ho. And see you soon.